All right, so right here, first thing you need to do is stop the video and write down the problem. All right, so we want to graph it, and on Khan Academy, what they're going to do is they're going to provide you with 3 points, and you got to move those 3 points so that the graph is graphed correctly. All right? Well, what I would do if I were you is I would calculate the vertex and I'd graph the vertex, but in some of these you can't. All right? Some of these vertex, if it's a decimal, the Khan Academy won't let you graph it. So let's calculate the axis of symmetry. Remember, the axis of symmetry is negative b over 2a, right? So the axis of symmetry in this case is going to be negative, and then b is 1, over 2 times a, which is 1. So negative 1/2 is your axis of symmetry, right? Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a t-chart, all right? And remember, if this is the axis of symmetry, then when I make my t-chart, I should plug in points to the left of the axis of symmetry, and I should plug in numbers to the right. So what's a number to the left of negative 1? I mean, of negative 1/2? Negative 1. What's another number to the left? Negative 2. Now give me a number to the right of negative 1/2. 0. So let's plug those 3 numbers in, and then that's going to be the 3 points that I graph. Okay? So when you plug negative 1 in there, you've got negative 1 squared plus negative 1 minus 1, right? Notice anytime I plug a number in for a letter, see right here I plugged a number in for a letter? Can you see right there I plugged a number in for a letter? What did I put it in? In parentheses. See right here I plugged a number in for a letter? Avery, what I put it in? Parentheses. Okay? So what I've got here is I've got 1 minus 1 minus 1, which equals negative 1. So when I plug in negative 1, I get negative 1 out. Okay? Then let's plug in negative 2. When you plug in negative 2, you get 4 minus 2, which is 2, minus 1, which is 1. And when you plug in 0, you get negative 1. So now I'm going to graph those 3 points. Negative 1 is right there. Negative 2. No, I graphed negative 1 wrong. This is not negative 1, negative 1. Negative 1 is right there. Negative 2, up 1 is right, right there. And 0, negative 1 is right there. So what does that tell me? That tells me my graph's going to look something like this. I made it look too pointy at the vertex. It should be more rounded. Okay, so when you graph it in Khan Academy, just graph these 3 points, and it'll draw the graph for you. Okay? Everybody pause the video and write down the equation. All right, so let's look at this together. And they want us to take this equation right here, and they want us to graph it. Now, in Khan Academy, they provide you with 3 points, and you can take those points and drag them wherever you want. Okay? And they want you to drag them so that you have the parabola that represents this equation right here. Okay? Now, the first thing I would do if I were you is I would calculate the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry is negative b over 2a, and you need to memorize that. I need to see you in Walmart and say, tell me the equation for the axis of symmetry, and you say negative b over 2a. Okay? I need to see you at a basketball game and say, what's the axis of symmetry? You say negative b over 2a. Now let me go shoot this 3. Okay? So I know that a in this case is 1, b is 3, and c is negative 1. So my axis of symmetry is negative 3 over 2 times a. So my axis of symmetry is negative 3/2, which equals negative 1.5. Okay, now it's hard in Khan Academy to graph negative 1.5, but I know that's an axis of symmetry. So right here, along this vertical line, okay, see that vertical line I drew in black? The graph is going to be the same to the left and right, so it may be like this, right? Well, that wasn't very symmetric. It won't let me erase it either. Yeah, it will. So it may be like that, right? Imagine it's symmetric. I'm trying hard. Or it may be right here going like this, right? Or it may be real skinny up here. It may look like this. We don't know, do we? But we know this is the axis of symmetry. This line right here is what cuts it in half. So now I want to make a T-chart. Okay? I want to make a T-chart. Can you tell me some values that I ought to plug into the T-chart? Okay, so I erased the screen, but our axis of symmetry, remember, was at negative 1.5. And we want to make a T-chart, right? And I'm asking y'all, what value should I plug in my X, right? My axis of symmetry was at negative 1.5. And I know my graph's going to be symmetric, right? Okay, so we know our axis of symmetry is at negative 1.5, right? So this vertical line I'm drawing is the dead center of our parabola. Okay, well, let's say I always like to plug in 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6. The problem with that is I will only have values to the right of the axis of symmetry, isn't it? So a good rule is when you're graphing quadratic equations, this is a quadratic equation, calculate the axis of symmetry and then plug in 2 points to the left of it and plug in 2 points to the right of it. So I'm going to pick the easiest numbers to the left, say negative 2 and negative 3. And then I'm going to pick some easy numbers to the right of the axis of symmetry, say 0 and 1. Right? And then I'm going to plug those 4 numbers into the original equation. Right? So let's plug negative 2 into the original equation. Let's plug in negative 2. So when I plug negative 2 in, I have negative 2 squared plus 3 times negative 2 minus 1, which is 4 minus 6 minus 1, which I think is negative 3. Is that right? So what we're saying is it's the point negative 2, negative 3. So I'm going to graph negative 2 and then down 3 right here. So there's 1 point on my graph, right? Now let's plug in negative 3. When you plug negative 3 in, you get 9 minus 9, which is 0 minus 1. So negative 3, negative 1 right here. When you plug in 0, you get negative 1, 0, negative 1. And when you plug in 1, you get 1 plus 3 is 4 minus 1 is 3. So you got 1 and 3. So you can kind of see that the parabola taking shape, can't you? Yeah. Now I know my axis of symmetry is my vertex is at negative 1.5, so it's probably like right there. Okay? So my parabola will look something like that and something like that. And you want to do your best to draw it symmetric, right? Notice that I'm putting arrows at the end of my parabola because it goes up. All right, on the left side, it goes up and to the left forever. And on the right side, it goes up and to the right forever. And then right here is my what? Vertex.